As Geraint Thomas seals the deal on his maiden Grand Tour victory, the Tour de France no less, we thought we'd take a look back at his life and career so far and pose the question, just who is Geraint Thomas? Thomas's win has been one built on consistency. He hasn't finished outside the top 33 on any stage. He's one of the only riders in the race who hasn't suffered some bad luck, which is in complete contrast to the rest of his career. He picked up bonus seconds in the first week, and far from simply defending or hanging on in the mountains, he's arguably been the best climber in the race. Not once has he lost time to any of his closest rivals, and it's paid off in dividends. Thomas has given the whole of Wales reason to celebrate. But let's rewind to the start. Geraint Thomas was born on the 25th of May 1986 in Birchgrove, Cardiff, Wales, here in the UK. He began his cycling life 10 years later with the Maindy Flyers cycling club at Maindy Stadium, where he borrowed a bike and started competing. And it's in fact there that he would eventually meet current teammate Luke Rowe for the first time.
He's always been the same from when I first knew him to how he is now. He's always been such a lovely, genuine person, and really easy to work with, really easy to get on with, and very well respected by, I think, everybody who knows him.
With the help of his parents, the Maindy Flyers club, and his own determination, Geraint went from strength to strength. In 2003, he won the Junior Kuurne Brussels Kuurne in his first year in that category, and 1 year later, he won the Junior Paris-Roubaix, although that was thanks in part to Ian Stannard taking a wrong turning in the closing kilometres. Thomas then went on to win a silver medal at the points race at the European Track Championships and a gold in the scratch race at the World Championships. At that point, his power and versatility was very clear, and Thomas decided that he had a future as a pro rider. However, before he finished as a junior, he had one final goal: to win his home race, the Junior Tour of Wales, which is a prestigious 3-day race often attended by international riders. Steven Kruijswijk, for example, was there that year, but it turned into a ding-dong battle between Geraint Thomas and Dan Martin. Dan won the prologue, Geraint took time back the following day, but the tables turned again on stage 3. Ultimately, despite his best efforts, Thomas would finish runner-up, something that Dan is still gloating about 15 years later. Soon after that, Geraint went to Italy to race with the British Academy, a place that saw the likes of Ben Swift, Mark Cavendish, Alex Dowsett and Pete Kenyock ply their trade, all flung at the deep end at the notoriously tough Italian amateur racing, under the guidance of their then coach, Rod Ellingworth.
I've known him obviously now most of my life. We've grown up together, raced together, was on the academy together, and turned into one of my best friends actually. So
Thomas's talent became even more evident as a senior rider, so much so that by 2006, aged just 20, he was given a tryout with the Sonia Duval team, although it would be with Barloworld that he would sign his first pro contract the following year in 2007. Having just turned 21, he was the youngest rider in that year's Tour de France, a race that he almost killed himself to finish, in 139th place with just one rider behind him on the general classification. Although I think it's fair to say a few excess kilograms didn't really help him then in the mountains. However, his focus back then was very much on track racing, and it would be there that he'd pick up his first major success. At the Beijing Olympics, he joined Bradley Wiggins, Ed Clancy and Paul Manning in the team pursuit, where they picked up a gold medal, and the world record in fact in the process. From that point, he split his attentions between the road and the track. In 2009, he finished in 6th place at the Tour of Britain, but it wasn't until 2010 that he'd pick up his first pro win on the road, the British National Elite title. 1 week later, he would finish 5th at the prologue of the Tour de France, and then came close to taking his first yellow jersey when he finished runner-up to Tour Hushovd on the Roubaix stage just a couple of days later. His first stage race victory came in 2011 at the Bayern Rundfahrt, but a year later, his focus returned to the track. A win on the short prologue of the Tour de Romandie, an indication of his power over short distances, and so it wasn't a great surprise that he was a key part of Team GB's team pursuit squad that won another gold medal at the London Olympics that summer. That spelt the end of his time on the track though, and once he did concentrate fully on the road, the results came very quickly. 3rd overall at the Tour Down Under in January of 2013, 2nd at the Bayern Rundfahrt, 15th at the Criterium du Dauphiné, all signs of future success. He would later ride the Tour de France at the service of Chris Froome, most of it, in fact, with a fractured pelvis that year, underlying his sheer grit and determination. In 2014, the divide between his classics and stage race ambitions was never really more evident. He was third at the E3 Praise, top 10 in both the Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix. Also, he picked up a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games road race in Glasgow, all of which showed his potential in the cobbled classics and one-day races. And yet, that very same year, he also won the Bayern-Rundfahrt for a second time, came 22nd overall at the Tour de France, in which Chris Froome had crashed out. And that progression continued in 2015. That year he had a win in the Vol d'Algarve, he was 5th in Paris-Nice, he had a huge win at the E3 Praise Cobbled Classic in Belgium. He's also 2nd at the Tour of Switzerland, 4th in the GC at the Tour de France going into stage 19 before he cracked. That though was after working completely at the service for Chris Froome. Riding in the wind on the first week, riding on the front in the mountains, he may have slipped out of the top 10 by the end of the race, but he knew then he could compete with the best at Grand Tours. And so a decision had to be made. The Cobbled Classics or the Grand Tours? Geraint chose the latter, and it paid off immediately with a win at Paris-Nice in 2016. Then in 2017, he would be the team leader for the very first time at a Grand Tour at the Giro d'Italia in May. However, if there's one thing that seems to follow Geraint around, it's bad luck. A police motorbike stopped at the side of the road, took down most of Team Sky as they raced towards Blockhouse, the first mountaintop finish of the race. He soldiered on, even finishing 2nd to Dumoulin in the time trial the following day, but ultimately his injuries would prove too much and he abandoned the Giro 3 days later. And so he went on to the Tour de France, which didn't in fact go that much better. He was lying in 2nd place overall behind his teammate Chris Froome, but crashed on a descent on stage 9 and was forced to quit that race too. You have to say that if Geraint didn't have bad luck, he basically had no luck at all. Back in 2005, in fact, he had his spleen removed after a bad accident whilst riding to the Velodrome in Sydney. There are those crashes that we've mentioned at the Tour de France, the crash in the wind at Ghent-Wevelgem, the Tour de France last year, the Giro d'Italia last year too. It's no wonder then that the world of cycling were questioning whether he'd ever managed to avoid the bad luck that's plagued his career, and that must have crossed his mind at times too. But the bad luck would continue. This year, for example, he dropped his chain on the decisive mountaintop finish of Tirreno Adriatico whilst leading the race overall, and then he crashed hard in the opening prologue of the Criterium du Dauphiné. However, since then, he has managed to piece together the perfect 8 weeks, in which he hasn't put a single foot wrong. He would go on to win that Criterium du Dauphiné after a dominant performance, and at this Tour de France, he just hasn't put a single foot wrong at any point of the race. At 32 years of age, everything has clicked into place for Geraint Thomas, and he can barely believe it.
The last time I cried was when I got married, and don't know what's happened to me.
You've just won the Tour de France.
In winning this year's Tour de France, Geraint Thomas has answered the critics' questions and his own questions, in fact. The only question that still remains is, why on earth are you still wearing those Oakleys? They're from about 10 years ago. In all seriousness though, the common theme when you speak to his teammates past and present, coaches, mentors and friends, is that he is a no-nonsense good bloke. Nobody has got a bad word to say about him. It seems as though he takes his cycling very seriously, but away from it, he's a very relaxed individual. He's laid back, he's passionate about rugby and football. In fact, he went to school with Gareth Bale and Sam Warburton. He also likes a beer or 3. So cheers, Geraint Thomas. You deserve that win.